Hey everyone, it's Avery. So today I wanted to talk about the importance of GSAs or QSAs in elementary schools and middle schools. More specifically, actually, Catholic schools, because I feel like I grew up in Catholic schools, and for me, access to anything in regards to support for the queer community was not really available. And I feel like just because you're in a Catholic school or this is a Catholic establishment or a Christian establishment doesn't mean that there aren't going to be any queers or any, gay students. And I feel like it's important to be able to create a space for these students to be able to feel safe. Because the reality is not every person is going to be able to go home to a supportive family. Not every person at the school is going to be able to confide in some good friends. Not everyone has friends. And I think that when schools do create this sort of safe space for these students, it allows them to be able to be themselves when any other time they don't have that opportunity. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've recently been invited to go do a talk at my high school's QSA, and this is a new experience for me because, one, I haven't really done any talks at any schools, nor have they been queer related. So it was definitely a privilege and a pleasure to be able to attend such... My cat's being really annoying. Do you want to be held? So it was definitely such a privilege to be invited to do a talk, and it really felt like I made a difference in these kids' lives. I feel like despite them being able to navigate the internet and the world on their own, it definitely does help to have this space provided for them and for me to be able to come in and talk about my experiences, because I have gone through it all without the GSA. And the GSA and the QSA, or whatever you would like to call it, is something that is new this year at my high school. So definitely an experience that I haven't gone through, and it was really interesting and really pleasant to be able to see it happen, at least at this point, because I do think it's really important. Are you good? You smell. I've also noticed that I haven't really thought about how much access I have to positive spaces and affirming spaces in my school currently, because in university, a lot of them do try to implement safe and affirming spaces. They also put out a lot of signs that say, if you enter through this door, if you enter this office or this room, it is going to be a space that is positive and you won't be judged for your identity. And I feel like I never had that growing up. I never had that in my high school or my middle school or my elementary school. And it made sense because these were Catholic schools. But at the same time, I'm thinking about how much of a difference it would have made if I did have access, or if I did see these signs or these stickers or just any sort of indication that I was going to walk into this room and feel respected, and I didn't have to have any fear of anyone challenging my identity or making me feel bad or putting me down for being who I am. I never realized this until I did do that talk, because I go to university and I see all these signs, and I remember now that wasn't there when I was in high school. So now I'm wondering, what did I do, or what are these students doing if they don't have access to safe spaces? And sometimes you don't really notice or realize how important these spaces are until you remember how many derogatory slurs you've heard in the hallways growing up in high school, or even in elementary school, people using the FAG word towards literally anyone as an insult. And just thinking about that, I don't think I've ever heard one teacher shoot that language down. And I think that that's kind of a problem. And during the meet at my high school's QSA, they were discussing doing a sort of presentation in front of staff in order to kind of address what was necessary and what behavior should be shot down and what language should be shot down and how to be more respectful of queer identifying folks. Although I think that talking to the staff is a great idea, I do think it is a necessary action to take because in the end, like I said before, not every student is going to have a supportive social circle. Not every student is going to go home to a supportive family. And perhaps the family that they're going home to is more homophobic and queerphobic than anyone ever knows. And I do think that these students are forced to spend their entire days at school in class. And it's not a lot to ask from these teachers and staff members to be respectful and to encourage their identities to flourish and prosper. Regardless of your values and beliefs, regardless of if you support queer people or not, we are all human beings, and I don't understand how someone can decide that one human being is more entitled and more deserving of respect than another one just because of who they love or who they find themselves to truly be inside. You were all forced there to be in class together every single day, and you don't have any other choice, so why make it difficult for one another? And what teacher has any right to make it difficult for their students? Because high school is difficult already, and the best thing that a teacher can do is support their students as best as they can, whether that be in academics or just being emotional support. I think that's all I really have to say. I just hope that in the future more schools do have these GSAs or QSAs, because I think we all forget how important they are and how much of an impact they make on these kids' lives and how necessary they are, because in the end it's not just a club, it's the mental health of these kids on the line. It's their sanity, and it's the difference between loving themselves and feeling like crap every single day coming into school or even being at home, you know? It's not a lot to ask. It's just basic human decency and respect. That's what it is. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.